Welcome back to the baseline. Today, another special podcast after the World Series. We are going back to the top 10 greats. And joining me today, I have Al and Craig. And guys, it's been a while since we do this. How we feeling?
Great, man. Thanks for having us. This is so much fun doing these position things. I had a blast putting together this list and looking forward to talking about it.
Totally agree. Right on board with you, Al. There. Yeah, going through these lists is a lot of fun because you get a little bit of history, maybe some names you don't know as well, or you've heard of but you don't know much about. But you've got to investigate to see if they belong on the list or not. So it's also been educational in terms of just baseball IQ.
Oh, I love what you just said, Craig. Perfectly put.
That I actually agree. There's a lot of guys. So as I did my research, you didn't know about until you actually, yeah, like you said, do your research and you find some weird or interesting stories that just pique your mind and curiosity of baseball. Not even just them playing the game, but even personal. You hear some stories that are just like, wow, okay, didn't know this guy.
Yep.
That's one of the awesome things about baseball is the lore. There's all these wonderful stories out there, guys that we all know their names. None of us, even me and Craig, who are way older than you, Jordan, were born when they were playing. You know what I mean? But you know their stories. You feel like you saw them play almost. It's such a cool thing.
100%. All right, so same thing we did last time. Just go through 10 through 1. Um, like we were talking about off air. For me, one of the hardest ones I've ever done put together. I'm happy with my list. I hope you guys are as well. Um, and
Well,
yeah, let's get started. So for me, number 10, went back and forth, but I did decide on one guy. Recently a Hall of Famer, and I had to, for number 10, I had to go with Cardinals and Phillies fans alike. Scott Rowland is my number 10.
Love it. He's my number 9. And we're going to tell that. I should have asked first, but we say that when we have him on our list, we say it when somebody else says it first, right?
Yes, that's what we
Okay.
did with shortstop.
Right. I thought that's what we did. Okay.
okay. Well, he actually did not make my list.
Wow. Okay.
He probably would be like 11 or 12. He would be right there. And he was considered for number 10, but I decided against it.
Yeah, and that's there's no like I can understand that because there's a lot of there's it's very close at the end of this list. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of great third basemen, so that I can understand him not being on there. Although I'm definitely, I mean, to me he's one of the best defensive third basemen I ever saw, and he would be much higher on this list if he had been able to stay healthy.
That's probably why I just remember him always just being hurt, and it might skew my vision, my view of him a little bit. I mean, 7-time All Star, 8-time Gold Glove, so obviously he was right there considered for me, and like I said, he'd probably be 11 or 12. But this towards the end here, like you said, Al, it's very close. You could ask me tomorrow, and he probably would be on a list or something. You know what I mean? He could change.
Yeah, at a certain point, we're splitting hairs between greatness.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with Jordan on this one, and I'll throw a couple stats at you real quick before Jordan takes it back over. Um, one of the coolest things in his career to me was that after all the injuries and all the back problems, and he battled through and was able to play 120 games most years. He wins the World Series in 2006 with the Cardinals, and check out his stats: batted 421, 476 slugging, on base 476, 737 slugging for a 1.213 OPS in that World Series. So,
Wow.
dude showed up in crunch time, big time. And his counting stats are comparable to all the other great. He still put up a comparable amount of RBIs, home runs. He's not going to catch the top couple guys we'll get to eventually on home runs, of course, but 316 home runs, 1287 RBIs, batted 281. 855 OPS, even stole 118 bases for a guy that was 6'4", 245. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, he had a 70.1 WAR as well.
Yes,
Yep.
which is top 10 in the position. Although I don't go strictly by those numbers, so I respect you not either, Craig. Totally.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want to throw at you about Scott Rowland is my fun fact for Scott Rowland. Um, he turned down. He was the runner-up for Indiana's Mr. Basketball in 1993. Have you ever heard? You've heard of that?
No.
Okay.
No.
Indiana's Mr. Basketball is like the biggest high school award in the country almost because it led to a lot of great. I think Isaiah Thomas was Mr. Basketball back in the day. Like there's a lot of like guys that went on to be great college and pro players that were Mr. Basketball. So it was a big deal. It shows you how good he was at basketball. And he turned down a scholarship at the University of Georgia to play baseball, which turned out to be a good decision. But he was that good.
Wow. You said 1983?
93.
93. Okay.
Wow. Wow. That's interesting. The more I actually looked at, that you brought that up, uh, it kind of reminds me when we're doing the shortstop one. We're talking about Barry Larkin, who turned down a football scholarship to play baseball as well. So kind of
That's right.
a interesting theme there between most of these players turn down something else to pursue a career in baseball around this time.
Y- Another fun fact. Anybody? I'm sure Al, you have. You ever heard of Danny Ainge?
Oh heck yeah, Celtics.
Yeah, he was a minor league baseball player until he went to pro for basketball.
That's right.
He
That's
actually
right.
made it all the way to the minors. I actually have his baseball rookie card.
I did too, man. I did too. That's why I know this. That's so funny. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Wow.
Yeah, and Danny Ainge,
Wow.
that's like, that's it's fascinating. And then think about all the football players that have used baseball to help negotiate their contracts over the years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, it's a sport filled with athletes for sure.
100%.
I love it, man. Great call on number 10.
Yep. Um, so he was, like I said, he was my number 10. Um, I guess, do we want to go the same order? I know we should have done this off air. Do you want to go in the same order where we had Craig and then Al, or do you guys want to change it up?
It doesn't matter to me.
All right.
All good, man.
So whoever wants to go next for number 10.
Well, not because I want to go first the whole time, but I want to go first this one because I think I'm going to shock you with who
Ooh,
I landed on number 10.
do it.
I
Oh,
bet you he's not on your lists, and I bet you if you go to like a top 25, he would be on there, but probably in the late teens, early 20s. But I looked at his numbers and the
mm,
longevity, and only Mike Schmidt, Eddie Matthews, Adrian Beltre, and Chipper Jones have more home runs at the position. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Not off the top of my head.
yeah. I'm trying to think as well.
414 homers.
414 homers.
And he hit 34 home runs, had 99 RBIs at the age of 40, which is unbelievable, in 1987. 2 decades after making his major league debut, ladies and gentlemen, Darrell Evans.
Oh, that's a
Oh,
good
wow.
one.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, I know he was an outfielder as well, but they have him listed as a third baseman. I did not, I probably should have checked to make sure he played more games at third, but I think he did. Either way, I have him as my number 10 because the numbers are surprising. Over 400 home runs in that crazy year at age 40, and only a few guys have more home runs than him. All his numbers are right there with anybody's. And I kind of figured you guys wouldn't have him on the list. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to put him in there because I can make the case for him. And the numbers support it. And I thought it would be an interesting name.
That's a good one, man. And by the way, while I was looking while you were talking, the stats back up your third base choice. He played 1,442 games at third base, then 856 at first, which is his next highest amount of games played in another position. So he's
Oh, I
clearly.
thought he played. I thought he played in the outfield, but I could have been wrong.
Oh, he played 83 games in left field also. So he did play some outfield. But and then believe it or not, he played 22 games at shortstop, which I can't imagine because he was huge for his era. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then 218 at DH. So yeah, he's definitely a third baseman, man, for sure. And
Yeah.
that's a great call.
How about that 40-year-old season?
Yeah, that's amazing, and I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
34 and 99 at age 40?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's wild.
that's insane. You don't get that many um players at age 40 to do that. Like that's the year they start to go down. The powers.
Usually that's like the third or fourth year they're going down. They start going down late 30s.
Yeah,
Heck
I mean,
yeah.
look at two recently guys. Obviously, both future Hall of Famers. Pujols and Cabrera. They instantly went down the last 3-4 years of their career.
Yeah.
But to have him do that, that's insane. To
Yeah,
do
that's
that at 40
amazing.
years old.
That really is. That really is. And it
So was
wasn't. And
that
he was
was I right that he's not on your list?
Yeah,
correct.
he is not on my list. Not at all.
That's awesome.
Correct. And yeah, man, no, that's a great call because I really like Darrell Evans as a player, and honestly, I didn't even consider him, but that's a great name. That really is, and
On, on the
he beat.
list I saw, he was number 15.
No, that's legit. I mean, like he's legit to be on this list. There's no doubt about it. Like it's annoying to myself that I didn't consider him honestly, but um, he's a modern day darling too. If you look at his stats, his lifetime batting average 248, not super impressive, but his on base percentage 361, over 100 points over his batting average, which is why how you end up with an OPS of 792 when you bat 248. That's impressive.
Yep, and his OPS plus is pretty good too.
Yes, which I don't understand at all.
I I don't really get OPS plus. I just know the higher it is, the better. That's pretty much it.
That's so awesome, man. I was gonna throw like Gabor at you or something, like some of these ones that are like 9 consonants and I don't even know what the heck they're talking about.
Yeah.
Like this guy was number 7 all time and blah blah. Oh,
Oh
I love
man,
it. I love it. That's a good one, Craig.
no, that really is. That's a good choice.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Well, speaking of guys that probably aren't on your list, I might have one here too.
Oh,
This guy, I'm going to read you some stats before I give you the name. This guy led the league in home runs from 1911 to 1914. The numbers in those 4 seasons were 11 home runs, 10, 12, and 9. Those were leaguing numbers from 1911 to 1914. He also
Oh.
led the league in RBIs in 1912 and 13, and with 130 and 117. All right. Um, that is, and I've had it's if you look this guy up, you find a nickname and then a little confusion on what his first name was, but there's no doubting his full name was John Franklin Home Run Baker, one of the greatest nicknames ever.
Yep, I have him on my list as one of the people I was going to mention at the end when we talk about our honorable mentions.
Love it.
He
Okay.
was there. Did you know that he was part of what they dubbed the $100,000 infield
Yeah,
for the
yes.
yep.
Philadelphia Athletics in the 1910s? They called it the $100,000 infield because of how much they paid all those players at that time was a lot of money.
That's a great fact. And yes, that's so awesome. He also retired for a year right in his prime, right after he led the league in home runs for that 4th year in a row. He retired for a year because Connie Mack blew up he blew up Connie Mack, the owner of the Athletics, blew up that $100,000 infield and the rest of the team and just started selling contracts all over the league. And Baker retired in protest and then came back and played for the Yankees for another 6 or 7 years after that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So let me hit you with some home run Baker action, man. He's a Hall of Famer. All these guys are going to be. 3-time World Series champ, played in 6 World Series. Won all of them with the A's. Had a 62.8 WAR, which is tremendous for the old days. Especially since the power stats don't work, and that factors in your WAR. Lifetime 307 hitter, 363 on base, 442 slugging for an 805 OPS. Did all that while playing in Shibe Park in Philly, which had a 481-foot center field wall.
Wow.
I'm not sure anybody hit a ball 481 feet in Major League Baseball this year.
Holy cow.
He was 5'9", 170, and used a 52-ounce bat. To put that in perspective, most players today use somewhere between a 30 and 36-ounce bat.
That's awesome.
He managed the Eastern Farmers in the East Coast League after retiring and discovered one of the greatest players in the history of baseball, Jimmy Fox.
Wow. Wow.
Yep. And my
Nice.
last fun thing about Home Run Baker, when asked about Ruth and the generation after him, because he retired and I believe it was 22 or 23. So the next generation was the ones coming out of the dead ball era. And when asked about Babe Ruth and all those guys hitting all those home runs, he said, "I don't like to cast aspersions, but a little leaguer today can hit the modern ball as far as grown men could hit the ball we played with."
Wow.
Wow.
so,
Nice.
so, so after saying he doesn't like to cast aspersions, he cast a whole bunch of aspersions.
That's
By the way,
awesome.
that infield is still considered by some to be the greatest infield in MLB history.
No doubt. No doubt.
One, yeah. I mean, honestly, from my mind of watching baseball, I don't think anyone has come close to that infield. Um,
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
in my mind, I mean, because I remember this conversation. I know. I mean, Craig, you know as well as being a Yankee fan. Like some people put '09 up there with that infield. Some people even put the Philadelphia Phillies in '08 when they had that ridiculous infield of what Jimmy Rollins,
Yeah.
Utley, Howard.
Howard. Yep.
Um, e- but not even in baseball, like right now, teams and the young cores don't stick around as much to be considered one of the hey, this is like a great team. No one does that anymore. Like everyone is playing, on their fifth or sixth team, like what it seems like these days.
No
No
doubt.
one sticks together. So yeah, this is undoubtedly one of like the best, like you guys said, the one of the best infields probably in baseball for hundreds and thousands of years.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. And I just got to throw out that Stuffy McInnes was the first baseman in that crew, which is one of my favorite names ever. Stuffy McInnes. Good old Stuffy, Eddie Collins, and Jack Barry rounded it out with Frank Home Run Baker. But yeah, no, that's one of the greatest. We were talking about the lore of baseball earlier, and that's one of them right there. The old $100,000 infield. That A's team that could still hold, possibly have been the Yankees of the teens and 20s if Connie Mack hadn't torn that team apart.
Yep.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Totally agree.
Well, 100%.
Love it. So I think that's all my home run Baker stats there. That's good stuff.
That's a good choice. I like that. Yeah, no, that's a great choice.
Totally agree.
All right.
All right.
So I guess we'll go to number 9.
Right on.
My number 9, uh, is I've actually looked it up. I didn't believe it until I did see it. This third baseman has the most hits among third basemen. Is second in games played at third base, and recently got into the Hall of Fame this year. But my number 9, Adrian Beltre.
All right. Beltray is on my list, but I have him much higher. I have him at number 5.
Craig, I have him at number 5 too. That's hilarious.
Um,
And
But
if I
he
can
is
say this real quick,
fantastic.
and then I'll lay out of the Adrian Beltre thing for a minute, I'll just say this. This was one of the most surprising discoveries of this whole exercise for me. Listen, I was watching baseball when Adrian Beltre played. I knew he was a great player. I didn't have any expectation of putting him at number 5 on this list going into this. I thought maybe he'd be on the list, and then I started looking at the numbers, and I was floored. So take it away.
uh,
4-time All Star, 5-time Gold Glove, 4-time Silver Slugger, almost 500 home runs, just a little shy at 477. 116 OPS plus for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, it sounds
Uh,
good.
3,000 hits, 1,700 RBIs, 1,500 runs, 121 stolen bases, a 93.5 WAR, and I will end it with his year in 2004. I'll put up against anybody's third base best years. 334, 48 home runs, 121 RBIs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
insane,
absolutely.
insane year. Go ahead, Jordan. Take it from there.
No, I would say absolutely. This guy, I mean, he's phenomenal, and yes, he played for a lot of teams. One stat I actually found interesting, was that when he was drafted, he wasn't 18 years old yet, and MLB vetoed the draft by the Dodgers. So they had to wait a couple years for him to turn 18 years old before they could redraft him. Um, which I actually thought that was kind of crazy.
Yeah,
But
they
for a
got
guy,
fined for it or something too. Like they got
yeah,
in a bit of trouble. I forget what it was. Yes.
well, which is was crazy to think about. But then to have him just retire and only be second behind the only second place for most games played at third. It's
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of insane because I think of the all-time greats who played third base,
yeah,
and he's number two at the
yeah.
most games played in baseball history.
And the most hits by any third baseman ever.
Ever
Yes,
the only third baseman to go over 3,000.
Yeah.
yes, which is it's crazy to think about, and
Bonkers.
I always think about he was such a star player, and you know I honestly think, I mean, you guys can have a different opinion. I think his career really took off with his time with the Texas Rangers. I think that's when he became like a big star. Like everything he did, people watched. You had to watch while he was playing. I know he played like with big teams like
Well,
Seattle
Seattle.
and the Dodgers and Boston, but I want to say his career really took off when he was with the Texas Rangers.
Well, the only pushback I'll give about that, and listen, he had a great one with the Rangers, so I know what you're saying. But he did in his last year in LA hit 48 home runs, 121 RBIs, and about 334. That was the year Craig was talking about. So he was already pretty firmly on the map. You know what I mean?
Right.
But he had one hell of a run with Texas. So I will say he had 3 years in a row where he batted 296 or better and hit 30 home runs or more. So yeah, I mean, what a beast. The whole way through, I think he was a beast. He started so young too. Like
Hmm.
that's how he ended up playing so many games, and he played 77 games in his rookie year, and then was full time the rest of his career. With barring injury. So he was no joke. And one other stat I want to throw at you. Speaking of stats, I don't understand how they make the calculations, but it seems to add up to good players. Um, he is. He has a 27 defensive WAR for his career. Now I don't know what that means exactly, other than he's
Oh,
second all.
I don't know I'm sorry to interrupt that. I don't know the value of the number for the war, but I have heard of defensive war because somebody else that's going to be on my list coming up has the highest defensive war of any third baseman ever, and it might even be the highest defensive war of any player. Period.
It's not. It's Ozzie Smith. That guy is third.
Oh, that's
I
right.
looked
That's
it up
right.
because I'm fascinated by stats, as we all are. Any baseball fan loves stats, or you don't stick around too long. And defensive WAR, I don't understand how they make the calculation, but you can point to the ones that are the high numbers and say, "Oh yeah, that's the best guy I ever saw," or "That's one of the best guys I ever saw." So bring all that to say, Beltre has a 27 defensive WAR, which is second all time at third base to that guy we're not going to mention yet. Um, so that I didn't realize. Listen. I watched the guy play. I saw he was a great defender. I didn't realize just how good. You know what I mean? So this was the most surprising part of this whole thing to me, was me ending up putting Adrian Beltre in the same spot at Craig at 5.
Yep, I was pretty surprised too.
Yeah. Did we say it has a 93.5 WAR? Also, by the way,
Yeah, I mentioned that, but yeah,
which is insane.
that's really high.
That's crazy high. Yep. All right. Cool. That's all I have to say about Adrian. Good choice, Jordan. Love it.
Thank you.
Love it. All right. Where next?
I mean, you guys gotta go number 9, right?
Oh yes, my
Yeah,
number 9 was Scott Rowland. So if you want to go, Craig.
Oh, yes, that's
yeah.
right.
My number 9 is his numbers are going to be dwarfed in this list, but defense matters. So I put Greg Nettles at number 9.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, yep.
He was one of the toughest guys for me to leave off.
Yep. 6-time All Star, 2-time Gold Glove, a 68 WAR. I mean, 390 home runs, nothing to sneeze at. 1,300 RBIs, 1,100 runs. They're saying that now that Roland is in the Hall of Fame, now that they should be able to get Nettles in now as well. And he's the highest total. He's the highest eligible third baseman who's not enshrined in their minds.
Highest
Um,
in what regard, Craig?
highest in like their minds. Like he's the next
Gotcha. Okay.
one. Like he's the
Gotcha.
next best one that should be in.
Right on. I always thought he should be in.
Yeah, 2 back-to-back World Series and ALCS MVP in '81, and yeah, he's he's just he was a staple there, and he was really really good defensively. I don't have his defensive WAR stat though, unfortunately.
That could be really hard to find.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. But regardless, I want he was actually on the list that I'm looking at, and one of the many that I looked at. He's number 10 on this one. He's right there, so he's right in the top 10 anyway. So I have him at 9.
Yeah, that's legit. I mean, he gets hurt by old school number thinking. Like,
Yep.
his 248 batting average, same as Darrell Evans. Um, but and like some of those numbers aren't pretty for old school thinking, but with new school thinking, people understand the value of him. So I'm all for him being on the list. He was a tough one for me to leave off, and yeah, I'm a big Greg Nettles guy for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. I actually did look at his numbers as well, but I am kind of with Al. Kind of really hard to put on my to leave off my list, but yeah, like all his numbers and stats, they're really good.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. His stats are there, and yeah, and defensively
Oh,
is a big plus.
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, he was a beast. He was an absolute beast. Good call on Gray. And nice you didn't call him Craig.
Right.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, wow, two numbers into this, and I'm already excited and learning a bunch of stuff.
That's awesome. Now, should I go to my number 8 now, or do we
uh,
skip me and go to your number 9? What do we do?
you know what, Al? Yeah, since we skipped you for number 9, nine. How about you go 8 first?
Okay. So this is a guy that I heard so much about. Never saw him play. He retired when the year I was born. But you hear so much about him. He's one of the most beloved people in his city. Played his entire career in one city, not for one team, because he played across town for the last year. But that is Ron Santo.
I'll get out of here. He was my number 8 as well.
Nice.
And Ron Santo was one of those casualties that I could not put on the list. And I was debating with him and Nettles and Darrell Evans, and he was right in, eligible for number 9 or number 10. And he was the one that got left out, but he was right there with them. Yeah, Ron Santo was going to be another one of the people that I was going to mention afterwards as just an honorable mention.
Right on. And one of the more lovable guys in the history of the game. He went on and became a broadcaster after his career and was absolutely beloved. Like Whitey Ashburn in my Philly town, and just a character. But what a player! I mean, one side note about this whole thing with his career is the dude played all those years and everything with diabetes,
Mm-hmm.
which much more manageable nowadays. But imagine back then, he had to hide it. He couldn't tell anybody because they would have kicked him out of the. I don't know. They would have thought lesser of him. You know what I mean? And he couldn't let that happen. So when he was on the road, he would sneak into the bathroom before his roommate got up every morning and take his shots. Like that's how crazy it was what we had to deal with back then. So the fact that he pulled off a career like he had, a Hall of Fame career with that to deal with, is astounding. He raised millions for that cause over his lifetime. 9-time All Star, 5-time Gold Glover, 70.5 WAR, batted 277, 362 on base, 462 slugging for an 826 OPS. His career, forget the injury issues with Roland, but the numbers are eerie if you look at these two back to back. That's why I have them back to back on my list. Um, 342 home runs for Santo, 316 for Roland, 1287 RBIs for Roland, 1331 for Santo. I mean, it's wild. Like it goes on and on and on. 277 batting average for Santo, 281 for Roland, 364 slugging, 362 slugging. You know, I mean, it's just like it's like they're inhabited each other's bodies. It's crazy. So I put them back to back on the list because I think they're very similar players. And Santo gets bonus points. I put him ahead just because he's such a pillar of the game.
Yep, absolutely, totally agree.
Yeah, 100%. And by the time he also actually retired too, add more into the career, he holds the NL record for most assists and most double plays.
Wow,
Um,
nice.
which like it's incredible. And then the diabetes thing, yeah, he was diagnosed at 18 years old and then hit it until 1971. Which by the time, I know you brought up his All Stars, but at the time he told people he was already a 7-time All Star,
That's amazing, isn't it?
which is crazy to think about from back then until now. Like he is. That took a lot of guts to even just play with with diabetes.
No doubt about it. There was a stigma back then. And so the fact that he had to keep it on the down low is just incredible to me. And then he finally came out and announced it and became a big proponent for the whole for raising money. And it became one of the most important people in the history of helping people with diabetes. No doubt about it.
Yeah, 100%.
Since we were talking a little bit about war before, his war in the 1960s, Willie Mays had the highest war, then Hank Aaron, then Roberto Clemente, then Frank Robinson, and then Ron Santo. He
That's
was number
incredible.
5 in WAR in the entire decade among
Incredible.
all players, all positions.
That's incredible. I didn't see that stat. That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah, that really is awesome.
Man, that's some perspective on this dude's career. And there's a mystery to me that I'd like to know. This is just kind of silly. But in 1965, somehow this dude played 164 games, and I'd like to know how that happened.
I would imagine they had 2 tiebreakers. It was like
Well,
4
heck,
teams tied.
how do
Yeah,
you two tiebreakers though? Yeah, I have to look that. I should have looked that up, but
Because
I
I
didn't.
remember some like I remember when Cal Ripken was going through his streak of consecutive games. There was a few years because I was starting to look at it to see all the numbers. There's a few years he had 163 games, and it turned out to be at the end of the season they had to add a game for a tiebreaker.
That makes sense. Wow. Okay. So yeah, and it's funny too because I noticed counting All-Star games for people that played in. I think it was the 50s. They played 2 All-Star games a year. So sometimes they'll tell you a guy made 12 All-Star games because he played both All-Star games in 1957 and when he only made 11, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, the
yeah,
thing is,
wow.
the All Star game was regarded completely differently. I was not taken that serious. My grandfather told me that there was at least one time where where Joe DiMaggio was so popular that they just had him lead off an inning where he wasn't even scheduled
That's so
to give him
funny.
another
Wow.
at bat. Like in like the 7th or 8th inning, he wasn't scheduled. They weren't sure if he was going to get another at bat, so they just put him in.
That's hilarious. That's
That
hilarious.
wow, what difference back in the day till
Yeah, they
now.
didn't. It was because it was regarded as an exhibition. It was just fun, you know.
I
Yeah.
love it. And I found the reason, and it was close. In back in that day, tie games were played again instead of being suspended or resumed, and he played in Chicago when they didn't have lights.
Oh, there you go.
Boom. So it was blackouts. Oh, that's funny. I never would have come up with that. That's awesome.
That is great.
All right, so there's Ron Santo.
Yep.
So, Jordan,
Uh,
your number 8 was who?
my number 8 was also around Santo.
Oh, okay, that's right.
I love
So,
it.
Uh,
it's your turn.
All right. Well, my number 8 is one of the guys, and I had a real problem with this, trying to figure out because we've got some current great third basemen,
Hmm.
and it's real hard to place them on the list because their career is not over. So I had a lot of trouble with it. But this guy's career is definitely winding down, I would say. And I'm still going to put him on this list, even though everything I just said, basically. Um, and that is my number 8 is Nolan Arenado.
Oh, that's not a bad pick at all.
No, that's great. And he was the one modern guy. I basically, after looking at it, I decided just to leave everybody off that's still playing. But he was the one guy that was going to be on my list if I didn't do that. So I totally respect that call.
Well, on defense alone, it says Nolan Arenado is already one of the best third basemen in history. He won the NL Gold Glove the last 10 years in a row.
That's crazy.
Wow, holy
Yep.
cow!
10 Gold Gloves, 5 Silver Sluggers, 7 All Stars. He has 730 home run and 100 RBI seasons, and he's still producing and has a realistic shot to join the 500 home run club.
Yeah, he's a
And
freaking
he's
beast.
and he's continued to produce at a high level, even with St. Louis. When people were giving him the stigma of playing for the Rockies. But yeah, like I said, it was tough for me to do this. It was tough to put people that are still playing on the list. But I saw him. He's on this list that I have. The one that I used mainly, although I looked at others, and he was on everybody's. So number 8, Nolan Arenado.
I love that he made somebody's list. I really do. I do. I just decided to stay away from active guys just because, and that's just my own thing. It's not a thing anybody else had to do. But I just that's how I went. But this was the guy for sure if I was going active players.
I didn't know. I did not know he won 10. He won the last 10 Gold Gloves in a row.
No, I had no idea.
Did not know that.
That's incredible. And by the way, this is a stat I never have. You guys ever heard of this one? He's won 6 platinum gloves.
Yeah, what is the difference between a platinum glove and a Gold Glove?
I looked this up the other day and I have since forgotten. I will find it again very quickly. um, oh, here it is from MLB.com. Oh, it doesn't tell me what it is. It just tells me about the voting. Yeah, give me a minute. I'll find it.
All right. Anything on Nolan, Jordan?
Um, I mean, I like that pick. Just because he's, he yes, the his career with Colorado. People were like, oh, like I remember when the trade happened, and people were like, oh, St. Louis has lost their minds because he's not gonna hit. No, he hits. Actually, if you actually look up his time with Colorado, his numbers were better on the road than in Colorado. So this, and then to have him defend, up there with on your list, he's an amazing player. And like you said, defensively, we have great third basemen now. Like Manny Machado, who else? Bregman, so forth. But Arenado, to me, is still up there as number one third baseman of all time. The plays this dude's made and the the running, the that he does to get to a ball like in foul territory. Sometimes he's out in left field where he has no business. He makes a catch. You're like, what the hell is this dude doing? But he is a phenomenal baseball player, and I know. We'll talk about his discussion when he times retire. I honestly think he is a Hall of Famer. He he
Oh, I
he,
think so
Oh
too.
yeah,
he plays
there's no
I
doubt.
think if he retired right now, he'd be a Hall of Famer. And he's got a few years left to go, probably.
a 100%, and he plays the game so well. But it's definitely one of the guys that you stop and you watch, especially with the wacky batting stance he does. I mean, you guys have you watched his batting stance? He moves his legs. Like who
Yep.
else does that?
Yeah.
it reminds me of what? Well, not as wacky, but Kevin Youkilis with the bat over his
Oh
head.
my
It's like,
God, Euclid, nice.
what the
I
hell are you
hated that
doing?
guy. I mean, don't get me wrong, he was a great player, but Kevin Youkilis was of the early 2000s Red Sox, and when they finally won and all that crap in 2004, he was the most annoying. I hated him.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I mean, Bill Mueller was up there too, but for me, it was Euclid.
That's awesome. I love
Oh,
that. I
oh,
love that.
but yeah, no, you can't be, you can't go wrong with that choice. I'm happy Arenado made it on someone's team,
Yeah, me too. Excellent. Excellent.
which
Eh,
actually, I know the different podcasts. We'll get to it later, but it's actually rumors that he's actually might be on the trading block. Just saying.
love it. Yep, that's going to be fun.
Can you imagine
Oh,
if the Mets get him because figure they can let Alonso go and play Vientos at first.
man,
Yeah.
that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I found the platinum glove thing in the meantime.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
in 2011, they introduced it, and it is a fan voted thing given to the best defender amongst Gold Glove winners.
Oh, so Platinum Glove. There's only one given out per year for all the positions, and he won it.
He won it 6 times.
Holy cow!
Okay. Well,
Yeah, which obviously is a record in the amount of time it's been out, unless somebody else won the other 8 or 9 that would add up to now.
right.
That's
I'm
pretty
sure it
impressive.
was more distributed then.
I would assume so too. Yep,
Wow.
that's
Wow.
pretty cool. That's
Right.
pretty cool. Okay, where are we heading next year? Number 7. Does everybody do their number 8s?
Yes, we all did our number 8s.
Okay.
All right.
So, number 7. I guess I'll go.
Yeah.
Um, so I got before I reveal who he is. I have a couple of quotes. Um, this guy, according to Ted Williams, compared him to Joe DiMaggio, and his manager, when he debuted, said he had tremendous instincts both mentally and physically, and you could see it right away. And he looked like he's been playing in the big leagues for years. I am sad that he's actually low on this list, but my number 7 is Paul Molitor,
Oh, okay.
which
Okay.
really interesting. I've known Paul Molitor, but then you look up all these these stats. Like in 1992, he became the oldest player in history to record his first 100 RBI season
Yeah,
at the age of
that's amazing.
40.
He
And
always
the
let
93
off for
World
about a second.
Yes. And the 1993 World Series, he was the MVP, batted 500, 2 home runs, 8 RBIs, and 10 runs scored.
Jordan, you're absolutely correct. That was amazing, but I forgot to mention we're not allowed to talk about that World Series because I'm a Phillies fan.
Oh crap! Yeah,
I'm, I'm totally kidding. I'm
disregard
totally
that
kidding.
last statement, people.
I'm totally kidding. He crushed it. He was incredible.
Um, and then
Well, the only thing
he was also
is, oh, go ahead.
just to bring this up, and then he was also the first 40-year-old since Sam Rice in 1930 to have a 200 hit season.
Oh,
Oh
wow.
wow, yeah.
So Paul Molitor would just
Well,
there's
he
nothing you go ahead.
he absolutely is, deserved. He's absolutely an all-time great. He if the Hall of Fame was more selective, no matter how selective they would want to get, he'd still be in it. And the only thing is, I don't have him on my list because all like I looked at like maybe 3 or 4 lists, they didn't have him listed as a third baseman.
Yeah, so we had that. It's funny because I thought about throwing this out there because who's the other one we
Hello?
talked about?
Oh,
Oh, are we breaking up?
yeah, I was working. It was probably me. You're all good. Sorry.
Okay, cool, cool.
Okay,
So,
good.
who was the one we talked about like a couple weeks ago? We texted about and decided that they were a
Edgar
DH. Does anybody remember
Martinez.
that?
Edgar
Edgar.
Yes.
Martinez.
So I have Molitor on the same list as that, and only because, listen, the dude played in 792 games at third base. So I'm not going to argue that he shouldn't be on this list. I just put him on my DH list only because he played 1,169 games there. So if I had him on my third base radar, I would have put him on this list because he's a great player. Whatever
Oh yeah,
position you want to consider him, he's a great player. So I will
absolutely.
agree.
If I saw him on the list and considered him, he'd be probably right around this area in my list as well.
Uh,
So
For
it's a
sure.
um,
really good pick, Jordan.
No doubt.
Thank you. I actually the reason I considered him because all the major websites did have him on their top 10. ESPN, I believe, have him at number 6 or number 5. I couldn't remember on top of my head.
Yeah, I
Uh,
saw
Ble-
that too. Absolutely.
Bleacher Report had him at like 4, and so he was on a couple of lists for all-time third basemen. Which and I had to go. I think Paul Molitor is, well, at least on my list, probably the most underrated one that a lot of people don't talk about. But I do respect like what he did, and then also not to mention, even when he was away from baseball, he did manage he managed. I forgot about this. Managed the Twins from 2015 to 18, and he won the Manager of the Year in 2017.
I,
um,
I completely
so
forgot that. Wow.
yeah, so Paul Molitor, he is
He's a
probably.
baseball. He's a baseball mind.
No
Yes, he
doubt.
is, and to have a guy like Ted Williams say, "I see DiMaggio in this dude," it's incredible to have that say that. Probably one of the greatest hitters in baseball say, "Hey, you play you played like as one of the guys I played against," is
That's
insanely
amazing.
insane.
Amazing. And by the way, the list of Ted Williams quotes that are positive about anybody but himself is very small. So that
Yeah.
is pretty impressive. like,
Oh yeah.
like Ted Williams is one of the greatest players of all time and doesn't say a whole lot of positive things about anything. So the fact that he picked Molitor to like is freaking impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
One hundred
if you
percent.
don't think if you don't think he's the greatest player of all time, just ask him.
Yeah, right, exactly.
He'll tell you.
That's awesome. I love that he ended up on this list. He will be on featured prominently when we get to DH on my list for sure.
Yep.
Okay.
All
That's
right.
nice.
So that was your number 7.
Yes.
All right, Al, you want to go? Or do you want me to go?
Go ahead, man.
Okay, my number 7, and I'm starting to think I might have put him too low, meaning he should be higher on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, hang on. Well, he had the reason why is because we're talking about WAR a little bit here, and 96.1 WAR is one of the highest that I've seen, and that makes me think he should be a little higher. But regardless, Eddie Matthews
Ah,
is my
Wow.
number 7. And Eddie Matthews has all the numbers you can handle. You want 12 All-Star selections, 512 home runs, and they say that he's got a strong case for being the second best third baseman of all time.
and that's where he is on my list.
You have number 2.
Yep.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, he's on my list. I guess since Al revealed his, I'll reveal mine. He was my number 3.
All right.
Right
So yeah,
on.
I'm low. I'm low on him. I should have been much higher on him, and that's on me. And as we're talking here, I would think that I probably should have moved him up. That was bad on me having him all the way down here at number 7. Obviously he's on all of our lists, and I think he was a pretty obvious selection. No problems, picking him. No reservations at all. And yeah, and also defensively, another one of these guys that was just great defensively.
No
So
doubt.
everything he did everything good, and had Yeah, had some crazy good power. 500 home runs is nothing to sneeze at, obviously. And he got there with a crazy good WAR too. One of the
Uh,
highest, I think.
oh yeah,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
Um, the actually more about Eddie Matthews. I actually found this up. Only member of the Braves to play while they were in Boston, Milwaukee, and Atlanta.
Yes, he played it. That's awesome, Jordan. You did that. That's so cool. Because yeah, I was blown away by that too. He played in 3 different towns for one organization.
Yep,
How long were they in Milwaukee?
I think it was only 1 year, if I remember right. I got it. Give me one
Oh,
sec. Oh no, wait. I'm
I'm with
sorry. It was in Milwaukee. They was the longest run. I'm sorry. It was what does BSN stand for? That's where they were the first season.
Boston. Was
Was
that
it
it?
Boston? Maybe was it the Boston Braves? Maybe
I
that is
think.
right. Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense. And then Milwaukee from 53 until 65, and that's when they moved to Atlanta.
wow.
yep. And then more quotes. Actually, another quote here. Another great baseball player, Ty Cobb. When they were asking him about Matthews, put on, "I've only known 3 or 4 perfect swings in my time, and this lad has one of them."
I wrote that down too, Jordan. I love that you just did that. I love that quote. And talk about guys that didn't have much nice to say about anybody. Ty Cobb's another one.
Yep.
And a
And
raging racist.
yeah,
Hey, a raging racist and just a mean guy overall. Probably spiked more people with metal cleats than anybody in the history of the game.
Yeah,
And
just the absolute dick.
yeah, yeah.
yes,
As and if you ever saw the movie Cobb, Tommy Lee Jones did a good job of representing that.
Yes.
yep.
Um,
And then yeah, but Matthews, yeah, he was talking about how long ago we're going. Seventh player to become to reach 500 home runs, and then they always say there was the most dangerous duo of all time: Eddie Matthews and Hank Aaron. When Hank
yep,
Aaron came up,
Oh
yep.
yeah.
Aaron came up 2 years into Matthews' career, and they just hit home runs all over the league for years and years together. Yeah, a couple other things I can add on to Jordan's notes there. Um, he held the single season record for home runs by a third baseman, which was 47, for almost 30 years until Mike Schmidt broke it with 48 in 1980.
Wow.
yep,
12-time All Star, 2-time World Series champ. One with the Braves in 57 and the Tigers in 68 towards the end of his career. Um, and cool, this was one of maybe the coolest fun fact of all of this research. He was on the cover of the very first issue of Sports Illustrated.
wow.
Really?
Okay.
I didn't know
Isn't
that.
that neat? Yeah.
That
How
is a
cool is
fun
that?
fact.
Mm-hmm. Good old Eddie. And this guy, by the way, last thing I want to say about Eddie. The reason this guy's on number 2 was easy for me is because I've followed him my whole life. Like this, I had his some. I was were you guys baseball card people ever?
Oh, I was
Yes.
huge.
Okay, me too. And unfortunately, all of our 80s cards, Craig's, are worth about as much as our toilet paper now. But if you have stuff from the 70s and prior, you did well. And one of my best cards that I still have to this day is Eddie Matthews rookie card.
Yeah, that would be an amazing one.
Yeah, I have that one in glass in a safe deposit box. And so this guy is like, when we were putting this list together, I was just like, okay, you know, I know this guy. I've known this guy my whole life, so this was a fun one to be able to talk about a little bit because he was one of those old school guys I never saw play, but read all about and felt like I knew his game even though I never saw him.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree.
Oh,
He's right there.
and sorry, but there was one other thing I wanted to say about him, which is one of the most important things. Arguably, one of the most underrated players in the history of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I would say that. I would
Yep.
think he's kind of forgotten or not mentioned in places where he should be.
Yeah, yeah. He's a great player and he's recognized, but somehow a little underrated. Even though he's second in to another guy in a lot of counting stats, it's in third base. So, love him.
Absolutely.
So
All
Al,
right.
who do you have then at number 7?
Okay. So this is a guy who you talk about guys you didn't like from Boston. Here's the guy I didn't like from one of the Phillies' biggest rivals, but I had to respect him, and he would have been higher on this list if he wasn't such a crappy defender, and that is Chipper Jones.
He was my number 6.
Right on, right on.
I actually
You
have Chipper high. I have Chipper number 3.
right on, and you can make a case for that because his offense is so good, but he's also easily the worst third baseman defender on this entire list of anybody that we're going to discuss.
Yep.
Hmm.
So I knocked him back for that. But you can make a great case just because of how good his offense was to put him higher. So the Chipper, man, number 1 overall pick, one of the very rare number 1 overall picks that makes good and actually gets to the Hall of Fame. 85.3 WAR, 8 consecutive seasons of 100 RBIs. I mean, that's insane. Um, Only switch hitter. And think about this, because Mickey Mantle, most famous switch hitter of all time, is not on this list. Chipper's the only switch hitter in the history of Major League Baseball to have a 300 average and hit 4 home runs for his career.
On both. What do you mean on both sides?
No, total. Like the only switch hitter to have his final counting stats be that.
Oh,
Like, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Did I say it weird?
I got
No,
it
no,
now. I got it
Okay,
now.
no. I think I do.
cool, cool. Um,
Yeah, he had 468 home runs and 2,700 hits. He could have gotten to 3,000 hits and 500 home runs. Um, I mean, he retired at age 40, but I mean, his last year he batted 287. It's not like he was showing that much of a decline.
yeah,
Yeah.
if the DH had been in the NL and he'd been willing to do it, he could have played another 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely. And he's also what I don't know if you don't think you said it yet, Al. Has the most home runs ever by a switch hitter.
Yes, that's another part of those switch hitter stats. Good, I did not say that. Thank you.
Yes, he has 468 home runs. And that's the most ever by a switch hitter.
wait a
That's
minute. Was Mantle a switch hitter, or was Mantle
yes.
just lefty? If Mantle was a switch hitter, he definitely hit over 500.
Maybe it's for third baseman.
This is most ever by a switch hitter. That's what I looked up.
Oh, interesting.
Well, Mickey Mantle definitely had over 500 home runs.
Home runs ever as a switch hitter. Yes, Mickey Mantle hit 536. But I've had weird. This is the problem with the internet because uh, I've had different things pop up, and I've been like, okay, I got to look at like multiple sources now. So I've been driving myself
Yeah,
crazy with that kind of stuff.
yeah, that is weird.
My guess would be it's from. Well, I don't know. I don't know. But whatever. Impressive damn number, 468. And it's not far behind Mickey Mantle. So if you're on a list with Mickey, you're doing well.
Right, right. They won 14 division titles with him.
Yeah, that's insane. He also had, and during that run, he had 14 straight seasons of 21 home runs or more.
Yep.
Yeah, and the only reason he's not higher on my list is because he is easily the worst defender of anybody that's going to make this list. But
Oh,
Right.
okay.
his offense is so damn good.
Sorry, folks. Scratch what I said. Most ever by an NL switch hitter.
Oh, there we go.
Ah,
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Sorry,
there you go.
okay. So sorry about that, folks. That I know my baseball. Don't yell at me.
No, we'll forgive you, Jordan. You've proven yourself time and time again.
Woo, cool. Okay.
All right.
All right. So I guess if you guys want to go, do
Well,
your
wait.
number.
Just to refresh, Jordan, your number 7 was
Well, my number 7 was Paul Molitor.
right,
Oh, right.
and was your number 6 already taken?
Yeah, it was Chipper Jones.
And your
Oh, okay, right on.
okay. And Al, what about your number 6?
I have number 6 still on the table.
I do too.
All
Okay.
right. So whoever wants to go, we'll end
Go.
up going.
You want me to go first this time, Craig?
Sure, sure.
All right. So this is the guy. This is the Ozzie Smith of third base, and I think you'll know who I'm talking about right away.
Yep.
Um, Brooks Robinson. This guy has the third highest defensive WAR of any position player at any position of all time. And that's behind Ozzie Smith and the other guy, Mark Belanger, who was a little surprising to me, although I remember reading about how a great defender he was. I just don't know him as well as some of the other guys on this list. But we've seen the highlights. If you like old, like the one play he made in the World Series when he's 10 feet behind the bag, moving away, and he still throws the guy out on a hop. I mean, this just some of the most spectacular defensive highlights in the history of the game. And on top of that, decent hitter. You know, he wasn't Ozzie Smith offensively. He wasn't great. He wasn't as good as Chipper Jones or anything, but he was good. You know, he wasn't
Well,
a liability for sure.
he won an
So
MVP.
yeah, he won a damn MVP for sure. He won 2 World Series. He won the MVP in 64, 78.5 overall WAR, 39.1 defensive WAR. For, like I said, third all time in that stat. His counting stats are good. His OPS was 723. That's the if you want to knock him, there's the knock. But everything else is super solid. And one of the greatest nicknames in the history of baseball, the human vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Well,
just to go on that a little more, Brooks Robinson is my number 4.
Right
I'll
on,
get out
right
of
on.
here. He's my number 4 as well.
Oh,
That's
that's awesome.
awesome. But he was an 18-time All Star,
Yeah.
Yep.
And a 16-time gold glover.
16-time Gold Glove which is more than Ozzie Smith, Pudge Rodriguez, Willie Mays, Roberto Clemente, more than anybody.
Yeah.
Here,
16-time Gold Glover. Just on that alone,
here,
18-time All Star, 16-time Gold Glover. He's got to be on this list. He did win the MVP. His numbers are solid across, except for maybe that one that you were mentioning about his OPS or whatever it was. Yeah. So in 1964, he batted over 300, 28 homers, 118 RBIs, won a World Series MVP. What else do you want? I mean, just a great player and the best defensive player possibly at any position.
well, here's the
Yep.
funny part. Another interesting fact about Brooks Robinson: won the All Star Game MVP, and the AL lost that game.
Oh, that's funny.
He won the MVP for the All Star, even though the AL lost, which I don't think I've ever heard of. My years watching baseball.
There's a couple times where
That's funny.
MVPs came from a losing team. I remember in football, I think it was actually the Cowboys. If I'm not mistaken, I think somebody on the Cowboys once won the MVP of the Super Bowl and they lost.
Oh, that's funny.
I don't.
Wow.
I would have to look that up, but I'm not going to do that now because
And
this
then
isn't a football podcast. But yeah, I'm pretty sure. But it is definitely, obviously, very
yeah,
rare.
and then teammate of his, Frank Robinson.
Mm.
Uh, we mentioned his defensive uh, plays. He said best defender at defensive player at any position. I used to stand in the outfield, watch him make a play, and be like, "Wow." Uh, so,
That's
so
awesome.
your teammate did that, and then you mentioned the Gold Gloves. The thing that interests me about the Gold Gloves is he won them consecutively for 16 seasons.
Yeah,
Which,
16 in a row.
That's
holy cow!
insane. That's nuts. That really is.
No, it is. It's it's
Woo.
insane of how great he was, and definitely probably one of the best Baltimore Orioles player in the history of that franchise.
No doubt. No doubt. It's
Here's,
him and Cal
here's
Ripken are the pillars, you know?
yep. Here's one
Mhm.
last thing about him. Um, according to this list, the gap between him and the number 2 defensive player at third base on this list might be the widest of any position on the diamond from number 1 to number 2.
Yeah. And that makes sense. That does.
Wow.
That makes sense. Yeah. And I'll tell you, I thought I would have Brooks a slot or two higher. And the biggest surprise to me of this whole thing, like I mentioned earlier, was that Adrian Beltre ended up higher than Brooks Robinson for me. And the reason I did that is because Beltre's offensive numbers are insanely better, and he's the second best rated defensive third baseman of all time by the defensive WAR, which I still don't understand because to me Mike Schmidt's a better third baseman. But well, it's I don't know, man. That defensive WAR thing is fascinating. I don't really understand it. I just know if they're putting him number 2 behind Brooks Robinson,
He's
then
doing something right.
the
Yeah,
odds boost him
and
over all to me. But I don't know. Brooks was so good.
yeah, exactly. And then because you mentioned Adrian Beltre, Brooks Robinson is number one for most games played at third base.
Yep.
Yes, yes.
With this is crazy to think about. 2,870 games played at third base.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I mean, Adrian Beltre played until he was 40 years old and played third base most of that time and couldn't catch him.
Yeah,
Yep.
So
and,
that's
and,
that's
and,
gonna be a tough
and
one to catch.
yes, and Brooks Robinson played 23 years. Like, damn, like that's nuts.
That really is. It's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, Brooks was something, man.
All right.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm out on the next round because I had Adrian Beltre at 5.
Okay.
We've discussed him.
And I had
Um.
Adrian Beltre at 5.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, you did.
Oh, but wait, I
Um.
didn't do my number 6.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Right.
That's right.
Sorry.
Number 6, as much as it pained me to say it, because he was my enemy in the 80s, then became an ally in the 90s, and that is Wade Boggs.
Ah, there he is. All
Yep.
right. Yep.
12-time All Star, 8-time Silver Slugger. He won 5 batting titles in 6 years. Career 328 average only trails Ted Williams, Tony Gwynn, and Stan Musial for anybody who debuted after 1930. Just those 3 guys in Boggs.
Incredible.
Um, he doesn't have a lot of home. He was not a home run hitter, 118 career home run hitter, but man, Fenway Park was perfect for him. He would just go up there, slap the ball the other way, bounce it off the wall, and he had so many damn doubles from that park.
Yep.
And he still had a 91 year WAR. He had the 3,000 hits and over 1,000 RBIs, 1,500 runs, and his defense wasn't stellar, but it wasn't bad. He did win the Gold Glove twice, so he was a pretty good defensive third baseman. Even later in his career, when he went to the Yankees and he played third, it was still pretty good. So I can't knock it. Can't knock him, and he's my number 6, Wade Boggs,
Jordan, you want to jump in on Boggs first?
the Chicken
Uh,
Man. Don't forget the Chicken
yes.
Man.
One
I was going to
Probably
bring
one of
that
the
up.
oddest stipulations in baseball. uh, but Wade Boggs. Yeah. Actually, when he debuted, at the time, Sparky Anderson. Again, you'll notice most of my people have some quotes with him, but Sparky Anderson actually quoted him saying, "Can that guy hit ropes? One of the best looking young hitters I've ever seen in my career." Uh, he had 368 batting average, which was the best in his career and the highest by a Red Sox player since Ted Williams, who hit 388 and 57. Um, so that's actually interesting. And I didn't know this. You mentioned the Gold Gloves, but he won them at 36 years old, becoming the oldest first-time Gold Glove winner.
Wow.
That's
What
cool. Yes.
which is interesting to me. And then of course, 3,000 hits, became the 23rd member ever to reach the 3,000 hit mark.
Did it with
And
a home run too.
Yeah, of
yes,
all things for Boggs, right?
Right. Well, it's the same thing with Jeter. Jeter and Boggs were not home run hitters, and they both hit their number 3,000 as home runs.
Yeah, that's funny,
yeah,
man. That's ironic.
it's interesting. But yeah, Wade Boggs, a tremendous player, one of the best ever to play third base. Um,
Is he on your lists?
he is. He was actually my number 5,
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
and
He is
then
my number 3.
Oh,
And
okay.
this was, we'll get to who he slided ahead of that surprised me. But if you just go, and I don't, but if you just go straight by WAR, he is the number 4 third baseman in the history of baseball. Um, yeah, which was fascinating to me because he was destroyed for his defense in his playing days, and I'm sure you remember that, Craig, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the facts were a lot better than his reputation.
Yeah, and
Um,
and, and he improved. He made a conscious effort to get better defensively,
yes, absolutely,
and he
absolutely. And
did
I found one
to
article
two gold
that
gloves.
said I found an article that said the narrative of Wade Boggs improving, while true, is overstated slightly because he was already good when he came up,
Right.
according to
There's
this
the
article.
perception of him wasn't.
Exactly, exactly. And so yeah, there's that element to Boggs, which was a pleasant surprise to when looking into it that he was much better than his rep at defense. There's no debating his hitting. He was part of a generation of guys that you're just not going to see players like that anymore unless the game just turns on its head again at some point. That I call the pure hitters. He's in a category with guys like the last of which would be Ichiro. The guys that I loved that were like
Tony
that,
Gwynn,
Tony Gwynn, another one. You want to guess the other one, Craig? A little older than Gwynn and Boggs.
Sam Musial.
Good one, a little younger. Rod Carew.
Oh yeah, Rod Crew for sure.
Right, yeah.
Rod Carew. And the people I put on those lists are guys that rarely hit 20 home runs. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's where I put those guys. 328 lifetime batting average is insane. In his first 8 seasons, his lowest batting average was 325. He,
Wow.
he 5-time batting title.
Yep. In
Uh,
6 years.
yeah, right. An 8-time silver slugger. And you brought up the fact that he ate chicken every day before the games, which is priceless. That was one of the most talked about oddities back when we were watching him
They
while
ate
he
it
was
at the
playing.
same time too.
Yes, he was really regimented.
It was like I think it was like something like 42 minutes before the game or something. He ate chicken plus then another one was like every day at like for like day games or even night games at like 17 after when the games were starting at 7:30 at the time. He would be the last one to do his sprints,
yes,
but it was
man.
always 17 after.
That's right. That's right. And easily and clearly, the easiest diagnosis of OCD in retrospect ever.
Yeah, he's crazy
Great
superstitious.
player.
But it
You know?
worked. I mean, the guy had more than twice as many strikeouts as twice as many walks as strikeouts,
Yeah, yeah. 7 straight seasons of 200 plus hits.
which is
Um,
crazy. 200 hits.
that's crazy, right? And he walked. He wasn't an Ichiro that didn't walk. You know what I
Yeah, he had
mean?
1,400 walks and 700 strikeouts.
Yeah, his career on base percentage is 415. That's almost 100 points over his batting average. So that's incredible. Now, here's the stat of all stats.
He even hit 301 in his age 41 final season. He still hit
Freaking incredible.
over
The guy
300.
could hit, man. The dude could hit. He could hit. He could hit. Now, here's the stat that blows my mind, and this is my last word on Wade Boggs. The Red Sox team batting average in the 80s was 278. That led all Major League Baseball teams. If you take out Wade Boggs' stats of that entire decade, their average drops 7 points.
Wow.
Wow.
Team batting average with Boggs 278, without 271.
Jeez, holy cow.
That's a good one, I thought.
Oh, that is a good one. Um, I mean, yeah, there's really nothing much you can say more about Wade Boggs. It was honestly one of the best players around that time. He did really well. He did what he did. Obviously, he had his superstitions while doing it, but that's a different story for a different day. But so many weird superstitions. It's crazy of how they did it.
Yeah, and he was one
Yeah.
of the most.
Yeah. But yeah, Wade Boggs, honestly, one of the best, and yeah, you can't really say anything else. He has done it all from a very very long time.
Beast. Oh, and I forgot one last stat. Just a quick one that's fun.
Hmm?
His 328 lifetime batting average is the highest of any living player.
Wow,
But
Yeah, how about that?
oh, okay,
that's kind of cool.
I thought that was cool too.
yeah, that is really cool.
All right, who's next?
Um,
Well, that was my number 6, and you guys did number 5, or 5 was Beltray for me, and also for one of you.
For me, yes. Jordan, do
Correct.
you have a 5 left?
Yeah. Al, did you do number 6?
6 was somebody I had already. Yeah, well, who was it? Brooks Robinson.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, my number 5 was Wade Boggs. So, if you guys
Okay.
want to do your number 5?
We both had our 5s taken, so we're all on a number 4 now. Whoever wants to go first.
Um, well, you guys can go first because my number 4 was taken. I have Brooks Robinson.
Yeah,
Okay, okay,
my number four was taken as well. Brooks Robinson.
okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, I have a number 4 out there, so I'll go. And this is going to be a fun one to talk about because this is one of the most fun people in the history of the game to me. Um, that is Mr. George Brett.
Wow.
Okay,
Okay.
on my list, but he is number 2 for me.
I was
Oh, he's
planning on putting him number 3 because Eddie Matthews was going to be number 2, period, for me because of my childhood love. But then Wade Boggs snuck up and had a better WAR, so I was able to get Boggs up there. But you could flip a coin here. Brett was in freaking incredible, and here's some Brett stuff. Probably you could make a case between he's probably the second worst defender on this list. He did win one Gold Glove, but he was not known for being an awesome defender. Not in the Chipper Jones like horrible category, but not great. But the rest of him is so awesome, I can forgive all of that. 1980 MVP, 13-time All-Star, 3 batting titles, and the first ever to win batting titles in 3 different decades because he did it in 76, 80, and 90. And
That's
by the way,
awesome.
yeah, isn't that
yeah.
cool? And he batted 390 in 80. Let me say that again. He batted 390 in 80.
Well, how about this? In 1980, he was batting 400 on September 19th of that year.
Uh
Yep.
huh.
He was in contention to bat 400 with like 11 days left in the season.
Yeah, easily the closest it ever came since Ted Williams.
Yep.
Here's an interesting one. Check this out. This tells you how well rounded George Brett was. First ever with this combination of stats for his career: 3,000 hits, 300 home runs, 600 doubles, 100 triples, and 200 steals.
Wow.
Nah. Wow. Nice.
Well, imagine, wouldn't you love to have George Brett on your fantasy team?
Yeah.
Talk about filling up the stat sheet. Holy mackerel.
Yeah.
Uh, 88.6 career WAR. That's just a tick behind Boggs at 91.4. It's splitting hairs. Now, here's another great George Brett stat. He played in the postseason. He played 43 games, batted 337, 397 on base percentage, 627 slugging percentage for a 1.023 OPS in his 43 postseason games.
He brought it when it mattered.
Brought it, man.
Mhm.
Brought it, dude. Brought it big time. And I want you to all like go off on your George Brett stuff, and then I have a really fun story to get into with George Brett.
Well,
Um.
I'm going to keep mine short and simple. No player is more, I'm reading this off and it's absolutely true. No player is more definitively the greatest in his franchise's history than George Brett with his 21-year career in Kansas City.
Oh, I didn't even think about that, but that's a great call,
Oh,
Greg.
100%.
Everybody else, there's a debate. There's no debate in Kansas City.
That's great.
No. Not at all. I don't care if Bobby Witt plays longer and helps Kansas City. He's not. He won't be even close to George Brett. No offense to Bobby Witt, but no,
He's got a
George Brett.
long way to go. He's just got a long way to go.
He'd have to do
Yeah,
what he did this year for another 10 years to even get in the conversation.
yeah, but I don't. George Brett. It was so. I don't. He played the game well, and
With
it's
passion. He was so
Big time.
yeah,
passionate. Just watch him when that home run got reversed.
The Pine Tar
The
incident.
pine tar.
yep,
He went friggin' oh my god,
yeah.
it was so great.
It's one of the greatest highlights in the history of baseball for
Oh,
me.
100%.
You see that forever.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's I don't know if you guys ever have the MLB network, but if you guys
Oh, heck yeah.
if you ever get a chance, just because of the off season, they play like a bunch of old stuff. Like they play old baseball movies, and they do these documentaries. they're like an hour long, but oh my god, are they so good? They did one on George Brett. I want to say it was like an hour and a half, and
Nice.
it's just him sitting there talking about like he. This is how much passion he played with the game. He's been out of the game for way too long. He still remembers all these things that happened to him while
I
he
love
was
it.
playing. Like it's just like you listen to him talk and it instantly just clicks back in his head. Oh yeah, I was here when this happened. Oh, when we did this, this is what was going through my mind. Like he just remembers.
He's one of those guys that'll be like, yeah, some random Tuesday in June, I was playing the Yankees and I hit a 3-2 slider that was on the outside half of the plate
Yeah.
down the line for a home run.
Totally,
Yes.
totally. And
Like
he'll
he'll
tell you
And
remember that.
he'll tell you
yeah.
what seam he hit too, like Ted Williams.
Yeah. And he's just
I c-
it's so fun to watch. It was so remarkable. I ended up watching with my dad. But
That's so
actually
cool.
one stat that I actually had, um again that could have been wrong, but I actually found this interesting. One of only four players at the time around his retirement to have 3,000 hits, 300 home runs, and have a batting average around 300. Didn't get the other three players, but I thought that was interesting as well. Just because, I mean, to be to have be one of four is
Yeah,
very to me. That sounds very. It's very remarkable for him.
This just popped in my head, and this is random, and this is a guy at a different position. But George Brett or Robin Yount,
oh man,
Wow.
they seem comparable to me.
that's
Very
a
comparable.
that's
They
a tough
know.
one, dude. Because I love them both. Oh man, I mean, Robin Yount played a lot of positions, so maybe I go with Yount because of his versatility. But I think I would go with George Brett.
Wow. Yeah.
I just like that guy. He just popped in my head, and I was thinking, trying to compare the two real quick in my head, and I was like, that would be a real close comparison. I think that would be.
Incredibly, that's a great call. That's a great call, and the fact that I couldn't just make an easy answer is proof that it was a great call.
I love his story about having to come off the field at 10 o'clock because he was
Yeah,
too young.
Yeah.
yes, I love that. I love that. Oh man! All right, any other George Brett stuff before I tell you this Brett story?
Um. No, I'm good.
Okay. So, all right. Well, the funny one is, and if you want to find the details of this one, go just look it up on YouTube because there's 17 different versions of him telling the story about how he pooped himself in a casino in Vegas. Hilarious story. Not going to get into the details on that
Oh,
one. Now, this context for this story, he was going to a strip club in 1980.
oh
in,
my God.
don't a lot of great stories start that way?
Yeah.
So he's going to a strip club in 1987, and this was the year that this was right after and he was with Bill Buckner. All right, and this was
Oh.
right after that World Series where the ball went through Buckner's legs. And so now from this point, this is quoting a guy affectionately known as Door George, not George Brett, just some other dude named George who worked at the strip club. Okay, this is quoting this man who was there that night. This was 1987, and the Kansas City Royals were in town. This was the year after Buckner let that ball go through his legs in the World Series. And I didn't recognize Buckner, but I recognized Brett. Somebody was giving Buckner a hard time on account of that ball going through his legs, so I took care of them, moved them to a more private table, and got them drinks. Brett, he appreciated it. He asked me, "Can you come to the ball game tomorrow night?" And I said, "Sure." Next day, here comes a limousine and an envelope with $100 and 2 tickets to the game with a note thanking me for looking out for them. Now,
That is a great story.
that's great, right? It's not over. Check
Oh.
this out. It gets better, Craig.
Okay.
Check
Oh
this
God.
out. The door George telling the story to the reporter raises an index finger and says, "The story is not over. From that day on, never saw him again in my life. But every time the Royals were in town, sure enough, I got an envelope with $100 and 2 tickets up until the day he retired. That George Brett, now there was a classy man."
Wow, he took care
Wow.
of him every
Nice.
year.
Is that the coolest damn story ever? I love that kind of stuff, and I just had to get that one in there, man.
That is a great story. What? Yeah, I mean, he's a class act.
Class act. And the fact that a classy story like that came from a night at a strip club, awesome.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
I thought that
Wow,
was
what nice. That is awesome. I like that story.
very cool. Very cool. So there's the Bo and the George Brett. So now I am out on 3 and 2. If you guys have anybody left, because I had Boggs at 3 and Eddie Matthews at 2.
I am out on 3. I had Chipper, and on 2, well, I had Brett.
Uh, I
Okay.
guess yeah. I guess we'll go to number one because I'm on three. I had Eddie Matthews, and number two, I had George.
Let me just
Okay.
make sure, real quick. Go through your 9 to make sure we've got them all. Start at 10, and just go through your 9, Jordan.
All right. So for my nine, I had number 10. I had Scott Rowland.
Yep.
Then I
Mm,
had Beltray at number 9.
yep.
I had Ron Santo at number 8.
Check.
Paul Molitor for number 7.
Nice. Like that we got to talk about Paul.
Chipper at 6.
Yep.
Boggs at 5.
Yep.
I had Brooks at 4.
Mm-hmm.
Matthews at 3, and George Brett at number 2.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I had Evans, Nettles, Oronado, Matthews. Number 6 was Boggs. 5 Beltray. 4 Brooks. 3 Chipper and 2 Brett. So we did all mine too. You're all set too, right, Al?
Love it. Yeah, I had 10 was home run Baker, 9 was Scott Rowland, 8 Ron Santo, 7 Chipper Jones, 6 Brooks Robinson, 5 Adrian Beltre, 4 George Brett, 3 Wade Boggs, and 2 Eddie Matthews.
Right. And number 1 was probably the easiest one. If you guys had a trouble doing this one, this list, number 1 was not part of that because that is a consensus. I'm assuming.
Abso-freaking-lutely.
1,000%. So
Well, go ahead, Jordan.
I would say, well, since we all have the same one, I guess we'll just say it. Mike Schmidt of the Philadelphia Phillies.
There it is.
Easy choice.
There it is. And it's nice to have a number 1 on something of my favorite franchise because that's going to be it. Who wants to run the stats on Michael Jack, man?
Um, I guess I'll do it.
Go for it.
He was a 12-time All Star, 10-time Gold Glove winner, MVP, 3-time MVP, also World Series MVP as well. I wrote this down. Also elected into the Hall of Fame in 1995. And what more can you say with Mike Schmidt? Oh, also, I mean, we did mention it early on the podcast, but I'll do it again. Uh, has a record for third baseman with 48 home runs. And what else can you say? He literally was everything. Mike Schmidt, probably one of the in our minds, the best third baseman in all of baseball. Still, probably lives to this day. I don't think anyone matches up to him who's currently playing. Uh, but he was
No,
a phenomenal player. Played well with the Philadelphia Phillies, and he had everything, the total package, really.
No doubt about it.
absolutely.
Want to go
He
next?
had, he also had 6. Oh, good.
I was just saying, if you go ahead next, and then I'll follow up after you.
Okay, cool. 6-time Silver Slugger was also there.
Yep.
548 home runs, and the only reason why I know his middle name is Jack is because on the
Yep.
home run call for his 500th, they said there goes number 500 for Michael Jack Schmidt, and that's why I know his middle name is Jack because I heard that call a bunch of times.
Yes.
We've been talking about WAR. How about this WAR? 106.8 WAR.
What the hell?
Damn.
Yep, only one of 11 players to win 3 MVPs. Finish in the top 10 in MVP voting 6 times, and Yeah, he has 13 30 home run seasons, and that trails only Hank Aaron, A-Rod, Bonds, and Pujols over the course of a career, and that's any position.
Wow.
Um, yeah, like we said, just an easy choice for the number one spot. And the last thing, that stat we don't really understand, but his OPS plus was the highest I saw on this list at 148.
Wow. Man.
That's the highest I saw.
Michael Jack, yeah, man. Nah, that's awesome. Good stuff. And I'll throw a couple things on top of everything you guys said. The most surprising stat of Mike Schmidt's career to me: 174 steals.
Yeah.
By the time I was old enough to be really aware of what was going on, he wasn't stealing many bases anymore. So he did a lot of that when he was young. Um, I want to go back to that 500 home run call that you just mentioned, Craig. Too. I had a note written down about that because it's one of my favorite calls of all time. The Harry Callis was the Phillies announcer for about 30 years,
Yep.
and he is my favorite of all time. I have hometown bias for sure. I don't claim not to, but to me, he's the best ever. And I haven't been able to listen to the games. I listen to it as much on. I watch games as much on mute as I do with the sound on since Harry Callis died. And that 500th home run call was Harry Callis and Whitey Ashburn, who was a Phillies great center fielder back in the day, who was his partner for a lot of those 30 years. And it is a special one. It's on. You can pull it up on YouTube and watch it in 20 seconds. And I listen to it a couple times a week just to make myself feel better. um, Here, I want to throw his 1980 World Series MVP stats at you. That was a 6-game series. He batted 381, 462 on base percentage, 714 slugging, 2 taters, 7 RBIs, 1.176 OPS.
Wow.
And now I'm Craig. I don't know if, and even Jordan, because you study your baseball, even though you're much younger. I don't know if either of you would remember the legend of his game that he had at Wrigley Field in April 17th, 1976. Does that ring a bell by any chance, Craig?
It does not actually.
Okay, it's probably one that's more specific to Philly than anything. But I heard about this game so much growing up. Now I can go back and watch it if I want to, which is awesome. 19, 1976, he went 5 for 6 with 4 home runs and 8 RBIs at Wrigley Field.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and to tell you the type of guy Schmidt is, he said, quoting about that game, his quote about that game is, "I was cold going in, so it was nice to get on track. More importantly, that vaulted us to our first playoff appearance."
Yep, all about the team, all about winning.
All about it, all
Uh huh.
about it.
Yep.
So yeah, Michael Jack, the clear number one. It doesn't. I don't know if it'll get any easier than this on our future position lists, but this was as easy a choice as I had to make since we've done these 2 positions now with shortstop and third base.
Yep.
100.
Catcher might not be that hard either.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
Yeah.
Although we might get some debate anyway.
Um. Yeah. No. I had fun. That was a great list. A lot of fun. Going back and forth. Each of us had something different on a player, and
Yep. But
even the guys. Actually, do you guys want to do that? Because I know we mentioned a couple of them. You guys want to mention who was left off your list?
Yeah, Craig, do you have anybody left?
I think we might have talked about him. Let me see if there's anybody else left that we didn't mention.
I
We
have
didn't
2
mention. Well,
guys.
I have some. I have a couple that are active.
Oh yeah, hit us with that then. Yeah, because I have 2 guys that are long retired.
Um, I think, and by the way, I think both of them. If we do this list in 10 years, both of them will be on this list. And
Oh,
it,
right on. Okay.
Oh, awesome.
uh,
Okay.
Jose Ramirez
Yep,
Yep.
absolutely,
absolutely will be on this list once he retires,
no doubt.
and Manny Machado.
Yes.
Yep. Uh
The
huh.
o- the only other name I have is also kind of a throwback, um, but he's also criminally underrated. Is Buddy Bell.
Oh, that's a good one. I love it. Yeah, Buddy Bell's a good name. A very
But
good
those
name.
are the honorable mentions I had, other than the home run Baker and the other one we had that we already mentioned.
Oh, those are great though, man. Those are great. I have two for you guys. One is Ken Boyer.
Oh,
Uh,
I remember Cleat Boyer. Was he related to him?
Cleat, you know what? I don't know. Let me just see real quick. Are Cleat and Ken Boyer related? I don't know. Oh, that's so funny. It did. Are Cleat and Ken Boy related? Apparently, there's a doll called Ken Boy.
Yeah, him and Barbie Girl.
Oh, they're brothers.
Oh, there you go. I've heard of Cleat. I don't know if I've heard of Ken.
Okay, so I hadn't either. And check this out. Where's my Ken Boyer page? Okay, now the lowest WAR of anybody that made my list was Home Run Baker at 62.8. Okay, which is still outstanding, right? Ken Boyer, his WAR 62.8.
Oh,
He had a lifetime batting average of 287, on base 349, OPS, slugging 462, OPS 810. And he was very consistent, and he was supposedly a very good defender, too. Super consistent for a long time, won an MVP in 1964 for the Cardinals, won a World Series with the Cardinals, 11-time All-Star, 5-time Gold Glover. So you can make a strong case he could have snuck in on the back end of this list for sure. Um,
yep, he's
and,
right
and
there.
yeah, he very much was. Now, this other one. Now, I regretted slightly not getting a Negro Leaguer on this list, but I have him as a bonus. And the only reason he was going to make the list, but the problem was he played more games at first base than he did at third. But because of the small amount of games he played relative to major leaguers, I don't know that he'll make that first base list because there's so many damn good first basemen in Major League Baseball history. So I want to mention this guy somewhere. And another great nickname, and that is Judd Bajoom Wilson. And yeah, you heard me right. Bajoom. Boogoo or Joom. Bajoom. And he got this nickname because that's supposedly the sound the ball made when he hit it off the wall at his home park. Because he hit the ball so hard. Bajoom.
Wow.
now check out these stats. Now, his WAR is only 33.3. Again, we're going to have to do a podcast on modern stats, too, and talk about what exactly WAR means, because I can't figure it out. It just seems to line up that good players have high WARs.
Yep,
But
and OPS plus. But go ahead.
same thing. Yes, right there with you. Right there with you. Now, this guy, and supposedly he's a good defender, so I don't know how his WAR's this low, given that, which is still a good WAR, but just not in the same category as some of these other people. Check out these stats 350 batting average. Only 77 home runs, but that's time. That's the sign of the times. 728 RBIs. Again, he played less games because the Negro Leagues didn't do 140 game seasons or whatever the MLB was doing back then. They were half that. OPS, and this is where you can line it up with other people 958.
Wow.
958. Now, to put that in perspective, Mike Schmidt's OPS was 908. All
50,
right.
50 points higher.
Right. So that's incredible. So Judd Bajoom Wilson, I wanted to mention because the dude could clearly hit the dang ball.
And he's got the greatest name.
Exactly, Bajoom. Come on. I mean, I thought Home Run Baker was cool, but Bajoom wins.
Home Run Baker was great. Is really great.
It is. They're both awesome. I mean, they're two of the best nicknames ever, for sure. You
Yeah.
know? Oh, I love it. And the fact that he was in an infield with a guy named Stuffy
Yep. Yep.
is just even better. So you got to love it.
Hey
So
Jordan, do
those
you
are,
have
oh, and
any?
by the way, the name that I mentioned before the pod that I thought for sure was going to be on everybody's list because of his reputation did not make anybody's list. So I'll mention him now, and that's Pie Trainer.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Now you
Mhm.
dig into his stats. Now listen, there's no doubt this guy was an incredible ball player, but you dig into his stats, and I didn't feel like he belonged on this list. I couldn't knock anybody else out to put him in, so I
Yep.
just wanted to throw him out there because he is on a lot of those top 10 lists.
Yep. I came across his name a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
So Jordan,
I,
do you have any of those honorable mentions?
um. So I did have a couple guys that we did talk about. I actually did. I actually looked into Home Run Baker. I'm not gonna lie, his name actually he was the one I was telling you guys off the podcast where him and Rowan were literally going back and forth for number 10. um,
Right
All
on,
right,
right on.
yeah, you were
Okay.
I
saying that you went back and forth like three different times, and
I
you ended up on Roland. But so he was the other guy.
yeah, and then
That's cool.
I also had Greg Nettles consideration.
Nice.
My other thing is, but I couldn't really find much information about like because I know he a lot of people consider him either as a first baseman or a third baseman, but also Robin Ventura came to mind a couple times.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah, Robin Ventura. I saw a list with him on
Yep.
it. Not top 10, but he was like in the 15 to 12 to
yeah,
15 range in that range.
yeah, he came to my mind a couple times, but just I just didn't make my list.
Yeah, that's a reasonable one. Yeah, a couple guys. Just while we're talking about more modern guys, two guys I briefly considered that didn't make the list were Troy Gloss has some pretty impressive stats out there at third base, and Evan Longoria. But Evan Longoria wasn't healthy long enough to be strongly considered for me.
No,
But they were
he
both,
more towards his career. He got injured.
yeah, they were both great players and top third basemen of their generation, but not good enough for the overall list. Quite.
Uh, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
All
That's
right.
awesome.
All right, so that was fun. That was our third baseman list. I had a blast. Love doing this. Beats doing it by yourself.
That's awesome.
Sure.
uh,
So you
so
said that we're gonna wait a couple weeks, and the next time we're gonna do catcher.
yeah, I figured we go back. I mean, I know I did already, but I would love to talk catcher with you. See your guys' brains and see where all these elite catchers are going to be on your list. Um, yeah, and then yeah, so we'll do catcher within what do we say, like a couple, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks? I forget the range.
Yeah.
We
Either way, we'll get to it soon. I'm thinking maybe in a couple weeks.
okay, yeah. So in a couple weeks we'll do catchers and yeah, and we'll do it from there. This is really really fun. I enjoy doing with you guys.
Back at you, Jordan. I appreciate you bringing me in, and I love doing it. And I will start assembling my catcher list tonight because I have so much fun with this stuff. So can't wait.
It'll
Wow,
be
nice.
awesome.
Love it.
Yep,
Um,
and don't forget, we're gonna next week. It'll be on my podcast, but we're gonna get together again, the three of us, and we're just gonna round off the 2024 season.
uh,
Can't wait. That's going to be fun.
yeah, 100%. Actually, speaking of podcasts, you guys want to promote your podcast to everyone?
Go ahead, take it, Craig.
Well, Perks Recap Podcast is the podcast that we were just talking about. We're going to be on it next week talking baseball, the 2024 season. We also talk football twice a week. Me and Al get together and do that. We'll be doing that probably tomorrow. And yeah, we promote those and do those on Wednesday. We release them on Wednesday and Thursday, but we record them on Tuesday, and just to get them out there in a timely way. And we always like to say that we're the first ones out there every week with new predictions for the next upcoming week, days before anybody else.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we hold ourselves accountable.
Yes, we do. We
We
make predictions and then we basically realize how bad we are.
yes, painfully so at times. We hold ourselves accountable.
And then I also have the Perks Recap music reaction channel that I'm still doing. And I slowed down a little bit, admittedly. I'm not doing 5 or 6 a week like I was before, but I'm still doing 3 or 4 every week, song reactions, and still having a lot of fun with that. But that's
Still my
my,
favorite out there. Still my favorite. This is how I met Craig in the first place. I love his reaction channel. Check it out if you like that thing at all. It's awesome.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, probably one of the best out there.
It is. I love it. I love it. And the one thing that Craig does that a lot of people won't do is if you send him a request with a little donation, he'll do it. Period. He doesn't care. It doesn't have to be some Pink Floyd song that always gets 50 billion views. You know what I mean? He'll do off the beat and path type stuff, which I
well, how
love.
about this, Al? Tonight I'm coming out with one. Talk about somebody I would never have suspected to ever do on this channel, but somebody gave
Ooh.
me a donation for it. Belinda Carlisle.
Oh, you got to be kidding me!
I got a Belinda Carlisle request. The guy
That's
gave me a few
awesome.
bucks, so I did it. But she's covering a Cream song, So
No
that's
way.
yeah, and which I didn't even know she ever covered. But so there's a little bit of guitar work in there, which is why the guy thought I would like it. Um,
Oh,
but yeah, Belinda Carlisle. Talk about a name from the '80s.
I'm checking that out for sure. If you would, if you could have made a lot of money by betting me whether Belinda Carlisle covered Cream or not.
Right, or just and like I said, or ever have someone request her to be on my channel. I don't.
Yes.
That's not my foray at all.
No, a lot of people go to you because you're the guitar. You like all kinds of great guitar music. You know what I mean? All different genres. Me with my jazz fusion stuff. You got the Grateful Dead and the Fish guys. You got all kinds of
Metal.
different stuff. So yeah, metal. You got the Japanese female band that people love, and yeah, so it's all over the map. People, he does that. Craig will do anything, and I love him for it.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
thanks for the thanks you for the compliments. They're definitely appreciated. But anyway, yeah, I had a lot of fun with this, and I cannot wait to get back at it next week with the season reaction and then the catcher list.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Al, you want to promote yours?
Yeah, so I'm on hiatus with my comedy podcast, but if you want to check out a really funny thing, if you like comedy, it's on Soul Joel TV on YouTube. The podcast itself is called Bring 'Em Out. There are 86 episodes up with comedians that have been on TV, been on the Tonight Show, are killers, and some other odds and ends here and there like psychics and just local luminaries. So it's all over the place. We have a lot of fun doing it. If you check out one of the last 10 episodes or so, you can hear some of my original music in the theme song.
Oh, fantastic!
Oh,
And by the
nice.
way, Jordan, you don't know this. Al is a fantastic guitar player.
Oh, thank you, Craig.
Oh, awesome. Oh man, I should just go to you then and learn how to practice guitar.
Oh, you hit me up I do lessons on Zoom, my man, and you get one for free. So you get the first one for free anytime you decide to do
Oh, that's
it.
so awesome. Man, I love the guitar. I've actually, I don't know if he listens, but if he does, I actually had a guitar teacher. Actually been on hiatus with that because a lot of personal issues have come up these last couple months.
Sure.
But his name is, if anyone wants to go check him out, he is on Instagram and he's on YouTube as well. His name is George Lassou. Great, fantastic uh, guitar play teacher. Learned Lily has taught me anything. I've learned how to play Twist and Shout by the
Nice.
Beatles. I've learned how to play. Still don't know how to play it, and he's taught me at least 5 times. Bob Marley, Jamaican on the guitar. Um,
Love
Still don't
it.
know how to play it to this day.
Love it.
And then the last thing I learned was the Salvation Seven Nation Army, or I'm probably saying that wrong, by
Oh, yeah.
the White Stripes.
White bum, 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 bum,
Yep.
bum, bum.
So we've learned how to play that as well. But like I said, a lot of personal issues, so I haven't done it. But if anyone wants to go check him out, he actually is in here in Connecticut. George Lassou is his name. Every Saturday, he also does performances. He sings. He plays guitar with a band. So
Sure.
it's really awesome if anyone wants to go check him out as well.
Well, shout out to a fellow professional, man. I've been teaching for 30 years and I love it. I play in
Eh,
bands, and that's
You know, he's actually done this for a long time too. Actually, maybe Craig will know. There's a little guitar place in Ansonia, called Benko's. He was
Yeah.
there for
Okay. I know.
a
Yeah. I
year,
know that. I know there. I've been
and
there.
then he just actually went on his own. So now he teaches at home and he teaches on Zoom, wherever. So he does a lot of great stuff in the music community. I literally think this guy lives, breathes, and dies music.
Well,
very
shout
cool.
out
Sounds
to
like my
Al and George.
Yep.
heck yeah, man. I managed to get a little sports in my eating and breathing, but I'm pretty much the same.
Yep.
Well, yeah,
So
I'm the same too in terms of my viewing habits. I'm now that baseball's gone, that's a nightly thing that I have to fill now, and I fill it more with more music, and also I attach myself to a couple of television series and just binge the hell out of those
Yeah, I do that too. Yep.
because this is the time of year to do it. You have football on 3 nights a week, but the other four you got nothing
yep.
Yes, yes. I'm right there with you,
because
man.
it's
I'm
too
current.
early for NBA or NHL. I don't really pay attention to either one of them till after the new year.
Well, my rule is I don't care about a sport until the people playing it do. And in the NBA, for sure, they don't for at least another 2 months.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is the time.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, all right. So, yes, we got all the options. Honestly, go check out both podcasts. I've checked out both myself, with Craig and with Al, and uh, we mentioned Craig has done a lot with music. Love it. Got actually most of the bands I listen to now is because of your videos. I'm not gonna lie. There's
That's
been
cool.
times. And then Al, I mean, you honestly, when I first heard about you, I've actually done it, and I can't help but laugh my butt off for that many minutes. There'll be times I'll be cleaning my room, I can't stop because I have to hold myself laughing. That's how great that podcast is. So go check them out.
Well, I can't
Perks.
tell you how much I appreciate that, Jordan. That's very nice of you, man.
You're welcome. You guys really, you guys have a lot of fun, which it's great to have on a podcast. I really love it, and hopefully you guys are coming back soon, which will be great.
I can't wait. Thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, go check it out, Soul Joel TV, and then Perks Recap Pod and Perks Recap on YouTube. Both one of the greatest podcasts you'll ever listen to. But other than that, like we said, go join Craig's podcast on Monday where we'll recap the baseball playoffs. And in a couple weeks, come back here where we'll talk top 10 greatest catchers of all time on our list.
Absolutely. I'm in. I'm in.
So am I, baby. Can't wait.
Awesome. Can't wait either. And then other than that, we will sign off and I will see you all in the next one.